I'm going to challenge you. There's a lot of empty space up front. So I invite you. You don't have to. And I know balcony people, you love your balcony, so I'll let you stay up there. But if you're willing, move forward. You can leave your stuff where it is. You can go back there after the sermon to your normal, comfortable place, but be a little discomforted and move forward. And you up here, if you wish, you can come down and sit down at this level. It's up to you. Because I'm going to preach from down here, so I'd like to feel a little bit closer. And we can just take the time. My sermon's only a half hour, so we got plenty of time. Okay, we've got brave souls who are doing exactly as I ask, so this is wonderful. And we got those people who are just much more comfortable where you are, and that is all right too. So thank you. So 2 weeks ago, it was announced here in the service by Pat Hammond that Reverend Kevin Benjamin had been reappointed effective immediately. And so after the service, I went over to her and said, Pat, I'll be praying for you. Pat's the chair of SBRC. And said, you know, if there's any way I can help, just let me know. And she got this big smile on her face. And she said, can you preach on the 20th? I guess I looked a little panic-stricken because she said, you know, just pull a sermon out of your file and preach it. And I said to her, Pat, I have never preached the same sermon twice. But I thought, oh, what the heck? I went home, so I'm a lectionary preacher. This is 2025. It's a 3-year cycle. Okay, I wasn't preaching July of 22. I was not preaching July of 2019. 2016 was right after I retired. I was not preaching that July. I went back to 2013 when I was here, and lo and behold, one of the associate pastors preached that Sunday. I went back to 2010, and lo and behold, one of the associate pastors preached that Sunday. I went back all the way to 2007, and in my file there was a sermon. I opened it up, and I had picked a different lectionary text. Yes, I'm off to a good start. And then I realized that all my sermons from 1983 on, when they used to be paper, you know, and I'd stick them in a file, and I had a bottom drawer that was all set up with the liturgical year, and in each Sunday there were 3 sections for year A, B, and C. You know, about 6 months after I retired, I threw all those out. Because I knew I had grown. I had broadened and deepened my understanding of God and how God works in the world. So it's a good thing those all went. One thing I learned this week, though, was, wow, how did I do this every Sunday? So we come to this story of Mary and Martha. How many have heard this story before? Oh, good. A lot of us. I hope everybody has. And how many of you think this story elevates Mary over Martha? Or have heard it preached that way, that Mary is much better than Martha? Okay, there's some. The problem is that for years and decades, that's exactly how this gospel text has been used. To compliment Mary, who's sitting at the feet of Jesus, and to try to help Martha to calm down because Mary has chosen the better part. Actually, that's our translation today. Other translations say something to the effect of Mary has chosen the one thing necessary. They both can speak. So this text has fostered misunderstandings. You know, there are many women, and I would add today men, who enjoy expressing their faith through acts of serving, that have heard this text as a criticism of who they are. Just who they are. Others have heard it as a way of saying, look, you got to try and balance your life between serving and listening, as if they've got to do it all. Once again, not necessarily who they are. But when we look at this text in the context of where it is in Luke and what has come before, last week, Lloyd dealt with the Good Samaritan and we heard discipleship. 2 weeks ago, we heard Reverend Messick preach about discipleship. So we're in a section where Luke is talking and sharing stories that lift up discipleship, how we respond to God. And Luke is trying to lay out the fact that there's a whole variety of ways that we respond to God and use our uniquenesses, thank you, Frank, to serve God. So we might get something out of this if we just go maybe a little deeper into the text. Now, you who know me know that, yeah, I like theology and biblical exegesis and things like that. But it might help us understand a little bit what's happening here. Do you remember the very first sentence? Well, let me read it for you. A woman named Martha welcomed Jesus into her house. So what do you hear? Hospitality. Great hospitality. By whom? Martha. Does it say Mary? No, it's just Martha. So hospitality to traveling ministers was greatly valued and respected in that time. And of course, we know that hospitality and fixing meals and all those domestic things were done by two classes of people. Number one, women. Number two, slaves. Okay? That was what was expected of them. You hear that? Expected of them. That was the societal norm of what roles they were allowed to live out in their lives. So then we get the conflict. Martha's in the kitchen busy fixing and preparing this great hospitality meal, whatever else needs done in the house to take care of everybody that's in there, because by and large it would not have been just Jesus. And where does his sister end up? You know. Where does she end up? At Jesus' feet, yes. Now, you're the dutiful serving one, and your sister, who's supposed to also have this role, is now seated at Jesus' feet, listening to him. Oh, how dare she? How dare she? But is Martha upset because she's not helping? Is Martha upset because maybe she's a little bit anxious for Mary, that she's breaking out against this traditional role and doing something that women didn't do? Or maybe she's anxious because she's afraid this is going to create a real uproar because Mary's sitting there and it's going to look bad on Jesus. We don't know. She could be jealous that Mary's there and I'm in here. Has anybody ever experienced that? You're busy serving and something else is going on and you miss out on it. Every time. You miss out on a lot, yes. So we don't know the real reasons, but the anxiety is there in Mary. So we finally get to Jesus. He's going to fix it all, right? Yes, that's what he does. Martha, you're anxious and upset about so many things. Martha was over-concerned with her tasks and missing this moment. Now, be careful. This moment doesn't mean that she should be at the feet of Jesus also. There's something about Martha's activity that she's missing the moment that is hers. And then Jesus said, Mary's chosen the better part, sitting at the feet of Jesus and doing what? Listening. Okay? Listening to Jesus, listening to God. The better part is listening. See, right now I have a little bit of tinnitus, and all I hear is this high pitch. But listening for God, to God, speaking to our lives. One of my favorite quotes that I think connects to this is from Evelyn Underhill, a mystic, who says, a spiritual life is simply a life in which all that we do, hear that, all that we do comes from the center, where we are all anchored in God. A life soaked through and through by a sense of God's reality and claim, and self-given to the great movement of God's will. When Jesus speaks to Martha, I believe he's reminding her that hospitality is good. But it's got to be coming from this being centered in God and understanding this is my gift and I'm willingly gifting it to the world. Not out of responsibility, not out of societal norms, but this is me. He's not chastising her. He's trying to help her get past the hubbub of everything going on and be in that moment using her gifts and enjoying it. Well, Mary is sitting and listening because she has responded to the voice of God and is exploring a different role as a woman. Think about that. Pushing against societal norms. They both are trying to answer God's call on their lives. God desires us to listen and be in the moment and choose to use our gifts aligned with the will of God. When we don't, Christ comes alongside of us. I'll pick on Scott. Hey, Scott, wake up. Hey, Mark, quit being anxious, would you? This Christ presence is meant to help us, yes, wake up, let go of the anxiety, and become centered in the moment, and to live us, our beautiful, wonderful, unique selves into the world. So, let me share two things about myself that may help you understand this. But let's start with a question. If you were walking down one of these hallways in the church, you're at one end, and you see a pastor turn the corner and they're walking down it towards you, and you approach, and suddenly you pass, and the pastor has never said anything nor acknowledged your presence, what's the first thing that goes through your mind? What? Must be David. Oh, Liz. Well, I set myself up for that, but that's exactly where I was going. I have not served a church where I have not gotten a complaint through SPRC that I'm cold, uncaring, and distant. My only response was, I never saw them. So, my strengths from the Clifton Strengths Finder are learner, intellection, connectedness, futuristic, self-assurance. So when I'm walking down the hallway in the church, I didn't see them because I'm lost in my thought, either working through my checklist of things I need to do, futuristic, or thinking about a sermon, intellection, or theological pondering, learning. The rest of the world just simply doesn't exist in that moment. And I tell you, I have done it, and I have done it, and I have done it. We can have great strengths and get lost in them and be out of the moment. It's that simple. And that was Martha. David, you are too focused on many things. You are missing the moment. And you see, did you hear one of those strengths was connectedness? I really do like people and connecting to them. I really do care about people. But there are times when I'm in the midst of my strengths where you just don't exist. Sorry. Sometimes God asks us to push back on societal norms. Now, this is a very interesting story. When I first started into the ministry, into the candidacy process, I was asked to take a Strong Campbell interest inventory. Now, if you know anything about interest inventories, you know that dates me, because it's no longer called the Strong Campbell. It's just the Strong Interest Inventory. And I sat down with the person who was guiding me through this process, and he said, you have a less than 50% alignment with becoming a pastor. And he said, the problem is, this scale is based upon the norm for a male pastor who was expected to have great business acumen. Oh God, I ran away from business classes as fast as I could all my career. He said, what's interesting is if we scaled you against a woman pastor, where creativity and artistic things are valued more, because that's what we see more, you're very aligned. My word to you is, if you go into the pastoral ministry, it's never going to be easy because of the societal expectations of what your gifts should be. Believe me, I have heard that a lot from SPRC too. You know, Mary, heeding God, sitting at the feet of Jesus, sometimes I think, she was becoming a theologian. What? You didn't? Nobody really embraced that? Come on, she was going to be a theologian. Well, that's because we have a lot of women theologians today. It's kind of a norm today. There are people who heed God's voice, God speaking to them, and embrace professions that are contrary to societal expectations, and we should be some of the first people to support and encourage them. When we are listening to God, open to Christ's presence, and settling into the oneness of all creation, we can find our own way to discipleship. It's not going to look like Kevin Smith or Diane Smith or Liz Murray or Mark Deshawn or whoever. It's going to look like me, David Palmer. We can find a way to use our gifts for God even when it goes against the norms of society. We can find a way to use our gifts even when they are aligned with the norms of society. The thing is to be centered in the moment in what God is doing and to open to it and be you. Whether serving or sitting, when we listen, we will find ourselves steeped in God, and my favorite phrase, living in the manner and spirit of Jesus. You know, that means we will have to put up with someone's different strengths, different skills. Someone living out these great strengths, but maybe against societal norms. It means then we will need to be gracious and generous with our love and compassion and understanding. God has blessed you to be you. God desires you to live yourself. When we do that, we might just live our life in such a way that those who know us but don't know God will come to know God because they know us. If you forget that phrase, you can come to my house and visit the guest bathroom in the front of the house, because there's a little wooden plaque that has that basically on it. A gift from somebody that I cherish. Live our life in such a way that those who know us but don't know God will come to know God because they know us. May it be so.